Brosplay! Welcome back to Soakers, eh? I recently I don't know why I thought that joke was going to be
Discovered, discerned, found
funny.
out.
It's only funny if you were watching the show before the show turned on, which you couldn't have done because you weren't here. Anyway, so that was a funny joke if you were here.
Yeah. If you viewed the pre-show.
It's like when people tell you this huge fucking complicated story and they're like, you should have been there. It's like, I wasn't there. Thanks for...
Yeah, thanks for telling me.
Thanks for making me feel bad for you telling the story that makes no fucking sense if you weren't there.
At least when people do it, sometimes they'll be like, crap, it's probably one of those things where you have to be there. But there's sometimes where people will say stuff and you're like, damn, I'm pretty sure I needed to be there to understand what the fuck this guy's saying. So you're just smiling and nodding. You don't know what they're talking about.
But I've recently discovered that the place we live, the wonderful province of Ontario, in the wonderful country of Canada, it's not all nice like this. It's not all nice people, and we don't have all nice people, but at a general rate, I certainly hear that Canadians are nicer than most countries.
People often say that Canadians are nice to a fault. That's one of the really common sort of tropes or jokes about Canadians is the over apologizing.
Sorry for saying sorry, eh?
Yeah, well, I've heard stories and I 100% believe them because they've happened to me, which is just stories of like I accidentally bumped into somebody and then they apologized to me and I apologized to them and they apologized for apologizing without needing to. And it's just like, yeah, that actually happens here. That's what we do.
Oh, the other day I was at work and I was grabbing something underneath somebody. I didn't tell them I was there, and I stood up too quickly and rammed the top of my head into their elbow. And I imagine they weren't hurt at all, but I immediately apologized. And then they turned around and I'm holding my head and they said, "You right?"
I've always found that I found good words for it very recently. Always assume you are in the wrong until you find some evidence to the contrary.
I do that a lot. Despite what people may think, the people who don't like me out there, I have considered whether I was wrong. Very, very much. To a fault, I guess, yeah.
And I've decided not only am I not wrong, you are a prick. Because that does happen.
Yes. I confirmed men who objectify women are effing horrible.
Wait, are you getting that from Cosmo?
Yeah.
Okay, did you also see the other ad that Cosmo put out?
Yes, that's why I brought it up.
Okay.
I want to talk about that. Yeah, so
let's talk about this bullshit.
That was one of their tweets, was that men who confirmed, is what it says. Confirmed. Like you went out and did some fucking independent journalistic research, you fucks.
Well, as if people didn't already know that.
That's what I was thinking. And then I started thinking about it. Then I started really thinking about it, brother. Are they? A guy who goes to a strip club is looking to objectify a woman. A woman who becomes a model is looking to be an object. She's not trying to showcase her desire to watch John Woo films. She's trying to say, look at my body.
And how nice
it is. Look how it makes the clothing I'm wearing or not wearing better. That's the whole point. So to say flat out all objectification of women is awful is not a true statement. It's a statement made without context. It's like to just say all women something, all men something. It's bullshit.
Bullshit.
And then they follow, and then somebody put together that they also tweeted out top Olympic bulges that deserve gold. So they decided to objectify men in the exact same way that they claim are effing horrible, and that's also my big issue with it. If you're gonna use if you're gonna try to say a swear word like fuck, God forbid, be edgy enough to just fucking use it. Don't come up with a word based on the abbreviation. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, that is the exact reason that we don't like you. You as the journalistic body.
Also, there's only one Cosmo that I subscribe to. and that is
from Fairly Odd Parents? Sorry, is that an obscure children's joke?
It's not an obscure. No. Fairly Odd Parents is, I believe, made it into our culture.
I guess, well, it's not obscure, but is it a children's joke? Because I watched a
No.
lot of that shit in high school, I'll be totally honest.
Well, people who watched it as a kid are probably adults now, like we are. So it's actually probably not a bad reference
Wait,
at all.
wait. We're adults? The fuck are you talking
Dude,
about?
you have exciting news. We need to get. We'll get back to bashing Cosmo in a moment. You're fucking what, like months out of your you went to school for 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Months, just a few months out of it, and you have a job and a car. You know how much further ahead you are than the majority of society. to say you're not an adult.
Well, yeah, one really had to come with the other.
That's true.
You know, just sitting on your hands waiting for that cheddar to come in.
Yeah, but I've had a job for a while. I'm 24. I'm 2 years older than you, and I don't have a car still. Never had a car. And part of it is because I'm not going back. I'm not getting a car and then having to get rid of it and go back to walking. Like if I'm getting a car, it's gonna be
Permanent.
forever. That's like when people are like, "Oh, you're like, I couldn't imagine living without a car." Like, that's why I haven't got one yet, because like right now I'm
Eventually, you won't be able to either.
exactly. Like I won't be able to go back. Right now I have no problem with the way that I live. Everything's in walking distance. I'm actually extremely fortunate to be situated next to a lot of things, and they're actually building a new plaza near me that's gonna have more stuff than I already had.
It's like they knew you didn't have any mobility, so they're like, you know what? Come on, let's bring some stuff to Mitch.
And you know,
It's Mitch's day.
As high as my rent is, I actually have a feeling that the way, I don't know exactly if this is like a Ontario or a Canada thing or what, but they can only increase my rent as a leaser by a very small amount compared to how much they can increase it to a new leaser. Like they raised my room when this is my old roommate, when it was her place. They could raise the rent by $18 a month each year. Like that was how much they could put it up by. Like the rate per month could only be raised once a year and by about $20. And as soon as it was mine, they raised it immediately to $100 more.
Because they knew they weren't going to get another opportunity if you live here for a long time.
Because they know that they're going to have to, they can only increase mine by a very small amount. I think it's like one, I guess it would be one, yeah, that would make sense, 1% versus 5%. So I have
a serious difference.
Yeah, I have a feeling the rent though here is going to go way up because of that new place. So I actually might have got in here really at a good time.
Yeah, that's true, because it's weird how they decide, oh, this is our grand opening.
Yeah.
And there's just shit all over the ground. There's still construction going on.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, in what context are you open?
It's just an opening. I would not classify anything about that as grand.
That is, in fact, a very minor opening.
Jesus, I probably should have used your phone for this. I don't know how I'm always... I'm probably... My phone is probably always dying during this because we're using it. I don't really use my phone that much outside of this.
Yeah, I find that's common. I used to text a whole bunch of people and lots of conversations going on. Now, I just have like one conversation that's usually hundreds of texts long, and it's an everyday conversation.
That'd be funny if people misinterpreted that as that we're recording this on our phone.
This would be some amazing quality for a cell phone recorder.
It would be. What I love about this game is it's one of the first HD games we've ever had on the show. It's like
it is a very pretty game. It's very crisp.
It is, and the animations are tight. Fucking toy.
Fucking toy.
When Dane and I first did those Batman Arkham City Let's Plays, back when Brosplay was meant to not be actual brothers, when it was supposed to be you, Dane, and I.
Brothers by friendship.
Brothers. I don't know.
But brothers nonetheless.
I don't know what I was trying to say there. He thought we were because he was watching the webcam like you were in the beginning, and he thought that was the output quality.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we finished it up. And
I wouldn't even agree to do it.
Yeah, we finished it up, and he says like, I don't know if you want to upload that. Like, it looks pretty bad. And I said, do you think that I'm uploading the webcam on?
Yeah, to anyone who hasn't seen the old episodes, I frequently discuss my point of view, which was a webcam recording, not a great webcam either, webcam version of what Mitch was seeing. So anytime I was confused, especially in Dark Souls, because it's such a fucking dark and seedy game.
Oh, it's a dark as fuck game, man. And it had an autofocus on the webcam, so it was changing brightnesses, right?
Yeah, I actually couldn't even see our character when we played Oblivion. I was just kind of going off feel because I've done it so many times.
Yeah. We redid that and didn't upload it.
Well, don't tell them that.
No, I want them to know. I want
you want to force ourselves to do it.
For those of you who want to break illusions, I want to make that available.
You gotta break the fourth wall. If you don't break
Fuck
the
the
fourth
fourth
wall,
wall.
then you're wasting your time.
We operate on 2 walls.
I watched Old School yesterday.
Old school like the old school.
Yeah, or is it? No, it's not called Kicking It Old School. That's
Is that a Jamie Bradley comedy?
Jamie Kennedy.
Jamie
Jamie Kennedy.
Bradley.
I don't know. That's why I was confused. But there's actually a lot of actors in that you wouldn't expect. Like the main character in Suits is one of the pledges. I don't even think he has a line in the movie. He's just there.
You're my boy, Blue.
And yeah, the old dude. I don't remember where I was going with that, but you know what? That's the beautiful part. And I just shot that out of the air.
That was
Anyone
pretty
see
nice.
that?
I saw that.
Fuck yeah. Did anybody see that? Who the fuck am I talking to?
Of course I saw that. I did it.
Oh, let's not go back to that again.
No, we need to talk. No, I didn't explain why A Good Day to Die Hard is so bad. The fucking helicopter scene. Who the fuck hires a helicopter pilot who can't kill 2 civilians moving very slowly across a fucking building top?
Yeah, helicopter you'd figure would be a pretty OP weapon.
It's an attack helicopter. It's designed to do that.
That's its one job.
Yeah.
Attack.
You had one job.
What is that from? Is the worst joke ever. Someone says, shouldn't we come up with an attack strategy? And he's like, I do have a strategy. Or, shouldn't we come up with an attack plan? He's like, I do have a plan. Attack.
Oh, it's probably a rock movie.
I really need to figure out what it is, because it's the worst joke ever, and you see it coming, but that's kind of why it's good.
Where there's a will, there's a way. You're right, and I will be going that way.
What the fuck is that from?
Chicken Run.
Oh, yeah! I remember that actually being delivered pretty well in that movie.
Yeah.
Chicken Run was a really, was that Pixar? No.
I
think that was pre-
don't know, but claymation is so hard. So hard to do, especially at that level, that quality.
But I feel like then claymation might have almost been easier than certain types of animation.
I think it came out after Toy Story.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a crazy and tumultuous era for movies.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other movies around that time.
I'm actually really unfamiliar with movies in that time, just because everything was new to us then, because the whole world was new to us.
Yeah, we were young. We didn't, really young. I guess we're still young.
Old School came out in 2003.
Really?
I would have been 8.
That's the same year that Six's first album came out. Oh, I was
Really?
thinking about. I love finding out what people were up to at the same time I was up to other things. Like finding out that H3H3 started their channel 3 weeks before we started our channel. And when we started this channel, we actually did stuff. We didn't make stuff for like 2 years, maybe 2.5 years in between there. But at the beginning, both us and H3H3 were trying to figure out who we were, what we wanted to do online. And that's amazing to know that that across the ocean, over in Israel, a young Ethan and Ela were struggling to figure out what they wanted to do the same way we were.
That's the thing. They're just hustling along.
But that whole time that when we were playing World of Warcraft and listening to Korn and who is the other one? The main one. What was it? Disturbed.
Oh, fucking Disturbed. That and Avenged Sevenfold.
And Avenged Sevenfold. But that whole time, we could have been listening to Sixth. That was 2011. Both of their first 2 albums were already out. I didn't find them until 2014, I think.
I'll be honest, the polyrhythmics are a little too much for me in Sixth.
But what I mean is, like,
my brain's not fast enough.
It was around at the time. Like, they were touring in that time. And what would turn into one of my favorite bands, I ended up discovering them way after.
Well, that kind of reminds me of the concept that when you go back in human history to like, you know, the Bronze Age, Wi-Fi signals technically existed. There was always electromagnetic radiation all the time in Earth's history.
Yeah.
It's just recently we figured out how to use it.
Yeah.
It's not like that's a physical phenomenon that didn't exist.
Yeah, the Duncan Trussell had such a great point about that.
Yeah, I'm stealing his shit here.
Yeah. About how just there have been so many things that have been there the whole time that we never knew about until recently. And so from our perspective, it's like, oh, this just came out. It's like when I discovered Sixth, I was like, wow, what a cool new band, even though their first album came out 10 years before I found it. But to me, it's new to me. If I haven't seen it, it's new to me.
Yeah, I was having a couple of really interesting discussions with a guy I was doing some labor work with, and it was funny because he had a really interesting view on a lot of stuff, and he was pretty well read, and you could tell he was like a global citizen, if you know what I'm talking about. But it was just interesting because I'm educated in geology, which means that I have a pretty good understanding of history, like a good context for history.
Right.
And we were rolling something along logs, and he's like, yeah, like the Egyptians used to do. And I remember in my head going, ugh, this conversation is way too long. I can't explain to you why it is I believe the Egyptians did something else. Because, sure, they could have pulled stuff with hundreds of slaves and used logs and rolled it, you know, the rudimentary way.
Or aliens.
Well, but not even that. Like, theoretically, if something came out of space and blasted us into the dust, and yes, I'm talking about a rock, not aliens, we would not be here in 10,000 years. We would completely not be here. Yeah. Everything except for stone structures, so Mount Rushmore, the pyramids, a couple other like stone objects around the world. Otherwise, nothing. We'd be gone. All our technology, even our satellites would eventually crash and fall to Earth.
Yep.
So who's to say they didn't, like we said, this stuff's existed since day one. Who's to say they didn't actually have satellites and didn't have technology? That's just gone.
Yeah. Wow. What? Wow.
Would make it a lot easier to build a pyramid if you had modern technology.
Yeah, well, aren't they lined up to constellations at a pretty crazy accuracy?
Not anymore because the constellations drift, but yeah, if you go back to... Well, that's actually the interesting thing, because if you go back in time, they would have, but not... But like, because it's a cycle, if you go back a few thousand years, they'd line up. If you go back tens of thousands of years, they'd line up. If you go back hundreds of thousands, they'd line up. So the question is, like, they could be 3,000 years old, they could be 13, they could be 35.
Oh, wow.
Right? Because the cycle keeps coming around. So at any point in the cycle, that could have been when they built them.
That's fascinating. Thank you for joining us.
That was a deep conversation to get into after the 15-minute mark.